So I'm here talking about Agile software development. It's not a technology per se, but more of a, I like to call it a state of mind. It's really sort of something that I discovered about 3 or 4 years ago and got what I call now addicted to Agile. I'm an addicted Agilist that really believes and tries to evangelize that way of developing software. It's really changing sort of the paradigm, and it's really not really changing that much anymore because a lot of people have adopted it. So it's really sort of getting more mainstream. So how many people, just to kind of get a feel for the room, how many people have heard of Agile software development? Most, yeah. And how many are actually using it for development purposes? I'd like to hear your reasons. If people are hesitant to use it. The one thing I did want to plug here is that in response to this meetup that I discovered, I started an Agile meetup group in Boulder. So I'd invite anybody and everybody that's interested in learning about Agile to come and talk to people. And I think that's sort of the best way to learn more is to really talk to people that are actually doing it and sort of buddy up with people, because it's not a very it's harder actually than it sounds in terms of you have to be very disciplined in your approach. So the whole goal, just to kind of give you a synopsis of Agile software development, is to shorten the cycles. If you think of the traditional waterfall, I was doing waterfall back in the 90s, and it was 6 months, a year delivery cycle times, and it was painful and it was awful. Agile says, okay, screw that. What we're going to do is do very short delivery to customers. So get it in the hands of customers to deliver, develop it in 2-week cycles potentially. You can release every 2 weeks. You can release every 1 week. You can release once a month. But get it into the hands of customers, because they're the ones that are going to be paying for your software. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to do a huge amount of time and have the wrong product, right? That's the last thing you want to do. So get it in there and just iterate through your development. But in order to shorten those cycles, you need a lot of tools, potentially, to kind of help you do that. So there's a lot of open source tools that have come on the market, testing tools, good practices in terms of continuous integration, build processes that are out there. Fitness is a wonderful tool. But all these things kind of take knowledge, and people that are new to this say, well, that's great, we want to do it, but how do you do it? So that's kind of the next step that I see is really trying to help people get more proficient at it and get up to speed a lot quicker. So it seemed to me that it'd be great to have this meetup happen in Boulder. I live in Boulder, love Boulder, and there's a whole lot of companies here that are doing it or that are interested. And to be able to kind of share stories with each other, be able to communicate, be able to get links and buddies to kind of help you, I think would be a great way to go. So I encourage you, if you're interested, to join that group. And the other big thing that we need is a facility. So I don't have a place to hold it yet. So if your company is interested in doing this, like here, or if you know of another company that has a spot that would be interested, definitely let me know, because I'd like to get it going in the next couple of weeks. If we don't get a place, then it can kind of dwindle out and die on the vine. So want to get it going like this, want to get a lot of activity and people doing it. So that's kind of basically it. The other thing I just want to say about David's blog, if you haven't gone to David's blog, do it. It's phenomenal. So thank you.
How do we get in touch with you?
What's that?
How do we get in touch with you?
You can get a hold of me if you join the Meetup group. I think that'd probably be the easiest way.
Okay.
Or I can give you my email address.
You're on camera.
I'm not on camera, yeah, but I am. Gene.McAuliffe@proagile.com. How's that? So.
Say it again slowly.
Gene.McAuliffe, so that's McAuliffe @proagile.com.
What do you think of Rally?
Well, I was the product manager there for 2 years, so I like Rally a lot. But there are other tools out there.
Are there open source tools that are compatible?
There are. I actually used another tool this last year at a startup up in Longmont, and so there's various tools that you can use. Rally's got its great benefits. Other ones have theirs. And again, it's just kind of fitting what makes sense for your team and what you're trying to to do.
I have an Agile question.
Sure.
The concept of Agile sounds like it works really well once you have a product that is in the marketplace. But if assume most people kind of in this room are in early stage development where potentially releasing to a customer doesn't even make sense for the first 6 months, first year. How does Agile as a concept support much bigger blocks?
I was going to ask the exact same question, which is really how do you get from I don't have anything at all to a critical mass of features? There's such a much bigger hurdle with respect to not only the critical mass of features, but also the amount of QA required to get that critical mass out. And so it seems, I have the same question, it seems like because we've evaluated using Agile, and the first part of the cycle doesn't seem like it fits. So that's why we didn't use it, so why should we?
Well, I mean, it's sort of like a mashup. I mean, it's sort of like just, getting out there and getting what you think is reasonable into the hands of customers. So I would say that it does make sense to not spend 6 months or 8 months or a year to get something out into your customers. So you can get early customers that are looking at it and evaluating it, alpha type kind of things, and you can still be releasing. What we did at Rally was we started from day one and had 2-week cycles, and we may not have had customer looking at it for maybe a month or two in order to get enough of the information in there. But at some point, you got to take that in as early as you can and really get going on it. Because again, you could be sitting back, dreaming up features that they don't want. And so.
And also, the whole thing doesn't have to be Agile. It can be just a portion of it that's iterative. And sometimes it's not. People use like a hybrid approach.
Yeah. I mean, it took us, as I said, with Rally, we had to get enough of the feature set and infrastructure in place for it to be, looked at. But that was, maybe a month or so before that happened. And so you can turn things around pretty darn quickly, even if it's just.
But isn't that just shifting the whole QA burden on your customer base? And don't you run the risk of alienating your customers by shipping code that doesn't actually work?
No. Testing actually, what Agile tries to do is really say that it's everybody's responsibility for testing.
Okay, so it's the free software foundation strategy. Good luck at patches.
No. I mean, that's why I said it's more work than you think, because you can't, because again, what value is it to the customers if it breaks for them all the time? So it has to be a solid quality product.
Then how do you install meaningful features as opposed to little lightweight things that are 6 lines of code that are easy to pump out, go through QA, and then get out to your customers
You'd be
in 7 days?
amazed at a rhythm that you can get into in terms of what we used to call design, build, test. You can, in a 2-week iteration, I get into sort of this pattern: first week, second week, and you end up sort of losing sort of track of real time because you get into this pattern. But you're just kicking things in and getting it through from the definition to the building of it to the testing of it. And testing again is spread out through developers, through product owners, through QA people or testers if you have them on the team. So you don't shortchange testing. I mean, it's not an ad hoc, just throw it at the wall and see if it sticks kind of thing. In order to do it well, you got to be disciplined about it, and that's where the tools and the infrastructure and.
So how many people in the room have run software that they thought was stable that proved to have sufficiently bad bugs that they lost a day's work, and then the company came back and did a patch a couple of days later? Everyone?
Well, but that's independent of Agile, though,
Right.
I mean,
Right, but Agile just seems like it's helping you move down that path more.
No, I mean, you take personal responsibility. Everybody is responsible for it. So you don't want to, why would you want to do that, right?
You wouldn't release it to
You
the
wouldn't,
whole world.
right.
You release it to 3 customers that are on your side.
Right.
but you own the QA problem. I mean, if you slip up on QA and let it out the door too early, that's your deal, right? I mean, you own that. Release early, release often doesn't mean you skip QA. And your QA process could be scattered QA across your company. It could be, highly disciplined, very defined QA group before it goes out the door. I suspect you or the company owns that piece.
Right. And you have to kind of set your own standards. I mean, it's kind of every team is going to be different, every product's going to be different, and you kind of have to figure out what feels right for your team and get them. And again, there's also a buy-in too. People are resistant to that and say, "Oh, that's just good."
All right. Thank you.